Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv and I am currently 37 weeks pregnant at the timing of this video, and I'm almost to the finish line. I cannot tell you how much I cannot wait to be done. I haven't really enjoyed pregnancy, and looking back on that and reflecting on that, I think a lot of it was because I didn't know what to expect. I am plus size. I started my pregnancy at, I think, 256.9 pounds. I believe I'm currently 262 pounds according to my doctor's scale. So I've managed to maintain my weight quite well, but there has been a lot of challenges being plus size. And so looking back and reflecting, there's a few things I thought about that I wish I would have known going into being pregnant and plus size. And I thought that I would make a video over this because I know a lot of us now are plus size. The majority of people are plus size, and I know from being in different pregnancy groups and just talking with friends and that kind of thing, we all struggle with the same things, and I don't know why more people don't talk about it, but today we are going to talk about it, and I'm going to share a few things that I wish I would have known going into a plus size pregnancy. I'm going to start off with the most serious one probably on this list, and that is that your care and the way that you're treated should not depend on your weight. Your worth as a person and the mother you will be has nothing to do with your weight. I had a really bad experience around 7 weeks pregnant. I had some bleeding that my midwife wanted me to come into the ER and get checked out. I was terrified. Obviously, I don't want to go into too much detail because I know that it can be triggering for some people, and I don't ever want to upset someone on here, but you can just guess, bleeding in pregnancy is not normal, so you can guess what my fear was to come in and get checked out. So I obviously went into the ER very upset, crying, very emotional, didn't know what to expect. And unfortunately, I got a nurse who I think wasn't too happy to be serving a plus size person because of the way she treated me. She was very cold. She wouldn't really talk to us. She was very snarky. Some of the comments she made, she took jabs at my weight basically. And she was the one who did the ultrasound because they were trying to determine if the baby at that point had a heartbeat, and all that good stuff. And if you don't know, that early in pregnancy, they can't really do like a tummy ultrasound. They actually have to do a vaginal one, which is where they pretty much shove a lifesaver up there, not to scare anyone. If I had to describe it a different way, have you ever seen one of those metal detectors like that a security officer has that they wave over your body? It's handheld. That is what it looks like, and that is what they shove up there, and it is huge and it is painful. This nurse did not warn me about this. This nurse did not use any type of gel for this, and she did not warn me. She literally just shoved it up there without my permission, without asking me if it was okay, and it was very, very scary. And on top of that, when she was moving it around and stuff and trying to see the baby in there, she's very rough. She was pushing on, I could literally feel her pushing on organs and pushing on the baby. And I'm tearing up thinking about it because it was such an emotional thing. And the fact that she was so cold about it, and she was just so mean, and like I said, it was just very, very traumatizing. And when she was done, she just pulled out and walked out of the room. She didn't tell me if she heard the heartbeat. She didn't tell me if she saw the baby, nothing. And so I attribute that to my weight just because of the comments that she was making. And I just want you to be prepared for that there might be certain providers, even though it is wrong, that will treat you a certain way because of your size. And that is not okay. We did report her to her supervisor. But I just want you to know, if you ever have that experience, never be afraid to say stop or no, or I want someone else to do this, or I want to switch doctors. Just know that it's you have worth. It doesn't matter what your size is. Your medical treatment and the way you're treated as a human being should not be based off of your weight. All right, moving on from the more serious one is number 2. And that is that at your first appointment, they're going to establish how much weight you should gain. And they do this with everyone. You don't have to be plus size for this. It's if you're underweight, they want you to gain a certain amount. And if you're overweight, they're going to tell you, okay, based off of your BMI, you can only gain this amount of weight. And the confusing thing, and I think the messed up thing about it in our healthcare system, is that they'll say, okay, you can only gain 10 pounds or 15 pounds in your pregnancy. So good luck. Have fun figuring that out. And they don't say anything else. So something I wish I would have learned, which I did ask eventually in my pregnancy, but not right away. And something I wish I would have known to ask was, okay, do you have a nutritionist? You know, is there a doctor I can talk to? Is there a certain diet you recommend? Can you show me what a weekly diet should look like for me? And I understand not everybody wants to follow a certain diet, but if you are wanting to be healthier and not gain a ton of weight in your pregnancy, and you know, you want to just make sure you're doing everything I guess you're supposed to as far as off the book, I would ask for that and ask for direction, because for whatever reason they don't give it to you, and it can be very stressful, and it can eventually lead to other problems in the pregnancy if you aren't eating correctly, especially if you are plus size and pregnant. Which brings me to my point number 3, and that is your higher risk for gestational diabetes. And this is something that I do have, and I will make a video over next, but just know that you can eat whatever you want being plus size, and there's some plus size women who never get gestational diabetes, but because we are at higher risk, I would ask about the diet. But if you do get gestational diabetes, like I said, I will make a more in-depth video over that. Just know it's not the end of the world. And honestly, it doesn't have to do with your weight. There's very skinny people who get gestational diabetes. But that's just something I wish I would have known more about going into pregnancy, so that when I was diagnosed, I wasn't so scared. So number 4 is join a plus size pregnancy support group. I didn't realize this until probably 5 or 6 months into my pregnancy, that there's a ton of Facebook and Instagram groups for plus size and pregnancy, where you can go and you can relate to other moms. You can find someone who's around the same weight as you, or even just talk to someone who understands, who's going through the same thing as you. And they're very helpful. You can ask a ton of questions, and it's just a very supportive environment. And like I said, I didn't figure that out until like later in my pregnancy, and I wish I would have known that sooner, because I have met a lot of great women. Some of them have become some of my good friends, and I can't just say enough good things about being a part of a plus size pregnancy support group. That leads me to number 5, which isn't something that I've personally experienced, but being a part of those groups, I see this question asked a lot. And then also talking to, I have a few friends who are plus size and pregnant and have unfortunately experienced this. That's to set boundaries at your doctor's appointments. So I've seen a lot of people comment that, what was the story I saw the other day? There was one mom who went in and said she went to the doctor at like, I think 7:30, hadn't had anything to eat, literally rolled out of bed, took her oldest kid to school, and then went to her doctor's appointment. So she hadn't drank anything or ate anything. You have to pee in a cup almost every single time you go to a maternity appointment, which I guess that's a side tip if you didn't know. And so she went, and obviously, like, if you haven't drank anything all night, your urine is going to be darker. And the doctor took it as an opportunity to basically say, oh, you just drink soda, you don't drink water, that's why you're so overweight, blah, 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 and just like went into her. And that's not the only horror story I've heard. I've heard a lot of doctors go in on women about their weight instead of talking about the baby and things to have to do with baby. Now, I want to clarify that sometimes a doctor does have to talk to you about your weight. I think we as women can be sensitive, and I think being plus size, you have to realize that it is a factor in your unborn child's health and also in your pregnancy, or your health through your pregnancy. So try not to be too sensitive about it, but the comment, like I said, about the pop and other things, just like the doctor going off on weight that has nothing to do with the baby, make sure you're aware of that and make sure you're preparing yourself mentally in case your doctor does that. So that way you can set the boundary and just say, hey, like, I understand, but like, I'm not asking for advice on this. I just want to stick to what pertains to my pregnancy and what pertains to the baby. Number 5 leads right into number 6, and that is to not be afraid to ask for a referral or for a new doctor. Now again, I've been very lucky besides my first ER experience, but with my actual midwife, I have been so lucky to find a care team that I love, but that's not the case for everyone. And don't feel like just because that's the first person you went to that you have to go to, especially if you feel like they are more picking on your weight than they are concerned about your pregnancy. Don't be afraid to switch and ask for someone new and find someone that you are comfortable with. Number 7 is don't be offended if your regular midwife or your regular OB refers you to a advanced prenatal care doctor. More than likely, if you have a high BMI, you are going to have to go into those clinics, which are for higher weight women. And I've seen a lot of people in my pregnancy group get offended by this, but the truth is that they just don't have the tools and the equipment to be able to properly take care of you and properly check in on your baby. So they're just trying to give you the best care. At first, I was kind of embarrassed when I was referred to a different doctor along with my regular doctor. But it's all just in the good health for you and your child. It's to make sure that they can properly take care of you and properly monitor that baby. So just be aware that that's something that is probably going to happen because you are plus size, and try not to take offense to it, because at the end of the day, what's most important is the health of you and your unborn child. Speaking of not having equipment for our size, number 8 is at your regular appointments, those aprons or the hospital gowns they give you to be able to like check out everything and do the ultrasounds and stuff are not going to fit you. They're not made for women our size. And do not be embarrassed to ask for either a bariatric gown or a plus size gown. I do that every time I go in now, because my very first appointment, I could just squeeze into it, but it wouldn't cover my backside. So I was like pulling the hospital gown tight around me, and it was like choking me at my neck, and I couldn't even enjoy my ultrasound because my gown was so tight on me. So it's better just to ask to have one that fits you. They deal with it all the time. Like, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And that way you're comfortable in your appointment. They can do what they got to do, and you're not like fighting with a gown that your butt's going to be hanging out of. Number 9 is don't be upset at your first or even your second ultrasound if they cannot see the baby. So plus size women, I carry a lot of fat in my stomach. I know a lot of others do. Some of us have bee bellies, some of us, have fupas, whatever. It makes it difficult to see the baby. So don't be upset at your first or second ultrasound if they can't see the baby with a tummy ultrasound. It is what it is, sis. Like, we got extra fluff on us, and that's hiding the baby, and it makes it difficult to see. So you probably are going to have what I talked about at the beginning of this video, and when I said I went to the ER and do a vaginal one, you're gonna have the lifesaver one, and just hopefully your nurse is more gentle than mine was. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they are, and that's why it's so important, like I said, to find a care team that you love. But just know that you're more than likely going to have a few vaginal ultrasounds before they can actually see the baby, because we are a little bit more plump there. Number 10 is my last thing I wish I would have known, and that is being plus size. People might not be able to tell you're pregnant. For me, luckily, because I'm so short, there's only one way for the baby to go, and that's out. So I have been lucky enough that my tummy has rounded out and I am showing. But for taller women, or for women who, are 300 plus pounds, you might not ever have a tummy. You might not ever round out, and that's okay. You're still doing it, mama. Your body's still producing life. You're still gonna have a beautiful baby, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've just seen a lot of women who are upset about not being able to see anything. Or I felt so bad for this one lady I talked to in my pregnancy group. She said she was like carrying something heavy and went up to a line, like asked to like set it down on the conveyor belt, and like a person was really rude to her, and they couldn't tell that she was pregnant because she was so big. And I just felt really bad. And so like, I could make a whole other video about people needing to be nicer, but that has nothing to do with things I wish I would have known. So just know that people might not be able to see that. However, they do have things like belly bands and belly underwear and pregnancy shirts, and just maternity wear in general that will emphasize that. And I actually plan on making a plus size maternity clothes video, because I had a lot of trouble finding those types of things. So stay tuned for that. But just know, and don't be upset, and give yourself grace. and just know your pregnancy is beautiful no matter what your bump looks like. All right, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If I missed anything or if there's any other tips that you wish you would have known, please share that in the comment section down below to help other mamas out. Make sure to click that like button at the bottom of the screen there, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye.